Welcome! Today, we're taking all that theory about passive intermodulation, that pesky interference from all the nonlinear components in the RF path, and we're putting it to the test. We're going to see how those principles we've covered actually play out when you're up on a tower or at a site. All right, so just as a quick heads up, this is part 9 of our deep dive 10-part series. We're pulling all this incredible practical wisdom from a guide by the RFI detectives. So yeah, everything you're about to hear is straight from the folks who live and breathe this stuff every day. So in this explainer, we're digging into Chapter 9. We're going to bridge that gap from theory to the real world, then get you geared up with the PIM detectives method. After that, we'll crack open some actual case files, talk about why preventing PIM is always the best move, and wrap it all up with what it really means to have a professional's mindset.
First things first, let's talk about bridging that gap between the textbook and the tower. Because let's be honest, for any wireless tech, the real lessons, they're not learned in a classroom. They're learned out in the field, where things get messy. It's one thing to read about PIM theory, but it is a whole different ballgame to see it pop up in a live network. That's when the light bulb really goes on. Seeing these real-world examples shows you what to actually look for and what troubleshooting methods get the job done right.
Okay, so before we jump into those case files, we need a game plan. A solid, systematic approach is what separates a frustrating day from a successful one. It keeps you from wasting time and, maybe more importantly, from making the wrong call. So let's look at the system.
And here it is. This 6-step process has been fine-tuned over literally thousands of field visits. This is your playbook for any PIM investigation. It just flows logically, from looking around to proving you fixed it. Stick to this, and you won't get lost in the weeds.
And let's be really clear here. Being methodical isn't about being slow, it's about being smart. Following these steps is what saves you from ripping out a perfectly good and probably expensive component. And it's what keeps you from having to go back to the same site for the same problem a week later. Nobody wants that.
All right, now for the fun part. Let's apply this method to some real-world situations, the kind of stuff you're actually going to run into out there. It's time to put on our detective hats.
So picture this. It's a classic case. The network data is screaming PIM. That noise floor is through the roof. You roll up to the site, you connect your test gear, and nothing. The main antenna line tests clean, the jumpers are solid, the antenna itself is fine. So what gives? Where on earth is this PIM coming from?
And this right here is the perfect example of why step 1, that really thorough visual inspection, is so absolutely critical. A lot of the time, the problem is hiding in plain sight, but it's just outside the main RF path. It could be something as simple as a loose bolt on the tower, a rusty bracket, or, hey, even a metal fence that's a little too close for comfort.
Exactly. Because you're following the process, you don't panic and immediately call for a new antenna. Nope. You've already tested the RF line and cleared it. So now you just widen your search. You methodically rule things out until, bam, you find the real and often surprisingly simple root cause. You just saved a ton of time, money, and headaches.
You know, being a great PIM detective is an awesome skill to have. But the true pros, the best of the best, they know that preventing the problem in the first place is way more valuable. I mean, just look at the comparison. The math is pretty straightforward. When you're in reactive mode, you're already behind. Customers are noticing and the costs are racking up. Every dollar, every minute you invest in doing things right from the start pays you back tenfold down the line.
And a good prevention program isn't just a single item on a checklist. It's a whole philosophy. It's about using the right low PIM components, making sure your techs are certified and well-trained, having quality checks in place, and keeping an eye on network trends so you can jump on a problem before it becomes a crisis.
I love this concept. PIM hygiene. It's perfect. Just like good personal hygiene keeps you healthy, good PIM hygiene keeps the network healthy. It's about keeping things clean, torquing every connection correctly, and just having that commitment to quality every single time you touch a site. It's a mindset.
Which brings us to our last, and honestly, our most important point. This is about more than just completing a task. It's about the part you play in the entire wireless ecosystem. At the end of the day, it's not just about closing out a trouble ticket. It's about craftsmanship. It's about taking real professional pride in your work, because that commitment to quality is what holds up the entire network, and it's what gives every single user a better, more reliable experience.
So think about that for a second. What's one thing you can do on your very next job? Maybe it's just taking that extra 30 seconds to properly clean a connector. Maybe it's double-checking a torque value, or just taking a wider look around for anything that looks out of place.
because doing those little things consistently is what makes you a true professional.